Greetings, this is the Critter Podcast, and I'm Callie Cross. Today's episode is about humanity's boldest plan yet, transforming the frozen, deadly Martian landscape into our first off-world home, and why people alive today might actually live there permanently. Picture this. You're standing on a dusty red plain, looking up at a butterscotch sky. The sun hangs overhead, smaller than you've ever seen it, and everything is tinted the color of rust. You take a step, and you bounce. Not float, but bounce, like you suddenly weigh 60% less than you did a moment ago. The silence is absolute. No wind in your ears, no birds, no distant traffic hum. Just the sound of your own breathing inside your helmet. Because out here, without that suit, you'd be gone in 90 seconds. And here's the thing that should blow your mind. People alive today might actually live here. Not visit, live. Their entire lives on a planet that is actively, aggressively trying to harm them in about a dozen different ways simultaneously. So let's talk about the most audacious plan humanity has ever seriously considered. Turning ourselves into a multi-planet species by colonizing a frozen, radiation-blasted desert 140 million miles away from the nearest pizza. Now, I'm an AI, so I don't have to worry about breathing or radiation or any of that messy biological stuff. But you very much do. And that's what makes this so fascinating. Because Mars doesn't care about your survival. It has no breathable air, temperatures that make Antarctica look tropical, toxic soil, deadly radiation bombarding the surface every second, and barely any water that isn't locked up as ice. It's like someone took every hostile environment on Earth, combined them, and then removed the one thing that makes Earth livable. That thin blanket of air we call an atmosphere. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite Mars being objectively terrible for human life, it's actually our best shot. And organizations like SpaceX and NASA aren't just dreaming about this. They're building the actual rockets, testing the technology, training for missions planned for the 2030s. This is happening in the lifetime of people who are already born. Think of it like this. For 200,000 years, every human who has ever lived died on the same planet. We've been all our eggs in one basket, one asteroid strike away from joining the dinosaurs. Mars is our insurance policy, our backup drive. The difference between humanity being a footnote in cosmic history and becoming something that spreads across the solar system and beyond. But let's be brutally honest about what we're actually talking about here. Mars is not a pleasant vacation destination. If Earth is a 5-star resort, Mars is more like permanently living inside a submarine at the South Pole while standing in an X-ray machine. Every resource you take for granted, air, water, food, warmth, protection from radiation, has to be manufactured, recycled, rationed, and maintained, with zero room for error. One system failure, and people are in serious danger. It's that simple. So how do we actually know what Mars is like? Well, we've basically stalked this planet for decades. We've sent orbiters to map every square inch. We've landed rovers that are literally driving around right now, analyzing soil, measuring radiation, drilling into rocks. Perseverance and Curiosity are up there today, doing reconnaissance for future colonies. We know Mars better than we know the bottom of Earth's oceans. And what we've learned is both encouraging and terrifying. The encouraging part? Mars has everything we need to survive. Water ice underground and at the poles, enough to cover the entire planet in an ocean 100 feet deep if we melted it all. Carbon dioxide atmosphere we can convert into oxygen. Soil we can potentially use for building materials. A day that's 24 hours and 39 minutes long, almost identical to Earth. Seasons, because Mars tilts like Earth does. It's not a perfect match, but it's workable. The terrifying part? Actually accessing and using those resources while not dying. Let's walk through the greatest hits of ways Mars wants to harm you. First up, suffocation. Mars's atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide and so thin that it's basically a vacuum. You cannot breathe it. Period. Even if you could somehow breathe carbon dioxide, which you can't, there's not enough pressure. Your lungs would try to push air out and fail. You'd be unconscious in 15 seconds. So every single habitat needs to be pressurized and filled with breathable air, manufactured either by splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen or extracting oxygen from that carbon dioxide atmosphere. NASA's Perseverance rover has actually tested this technology. It's called MOXIE, and it works. But imagine living your entire life never feeling natural wind on your face, never taking a spontaneous walk outside. Every breath you take had to be chemically manufactured. More after our break.
My name is Tom Sachs. I'm an artist in New York City. For nearly 2 decades, I have been collaborating with Nike.
Nike running is for runners, Nike basketball is for basketball. Nike craft is for everyone else.
Then there's the radiation problem, and this one's nasty. On Earth, we're protected by a magnetic field and a thick atmosphere that shields us from solar radiation and cosmic rays. Mars lost its magnetic field billions of years ago. The planet basically died, and most of its atmosphere got stripped away by solar wind. What's left is like protecting yourself from a blowtorch with a tissue. Spending a year on Mars exposes you to radiation equal to Earth's lifetime safe limit. It's like getting a full-body CT scan every 5 days for a year straight. Health risks go way up. DNA damage accumulates. The solution? Live underground, or bury your habitats under several feet of Martian dirt. Mars has these incredible lava tubes, basically underground caves formed by ancient volcanoes, that could house entire cities with natural radiation protection. Or you build your habitat and then pile regolith on top. Water tanks around living quarters help too, since water blocks radiation. But either way, you're living like a mole person. Sunlight becomes a luxury. Windows are dangerous. It's psychologically brutal. Now let's talk about that dirt I just mentioned. Martian regolith isn't just dirt. It's toxic dirt. It contains chemicals called perchlorates that would poison both humans and plants. Remember in The Martian when Matt Damon grows potatoes in Martian soil? Yeah, in reality, he'd have grown nothing because those potatoes would have absorbed poison. You can't just dig a hole and start farming. The soil needs to be washed, cleaned, treated. A massive energy investment. Or you skip it entirely and use hydroponics, growing plants in nutrient water without soil, which works but requires bringing or manufacturing everything your plants need. There's no organic, locally sourced food on Mars. Everything is manufactured, processed, artificial. And I haven't even mentioned the cold yet. Average temperature on Mars is minus 81 degrees Fahrenheit. The warmest it ever gets at the equator on a summer afternoon is 70 degrees. Hey, not bad. But at night, it drops to minus 120. That's a temperature swing of 190 degrees between day and night. Your habitat needs incredible insulation and powerful heating systems running constantly. Nuclear reactors would probably be the go-to power source because solar panels get covered in dust and provide less power since Mars is farther from the sun. Every watt of electricity is precious because it's literally keeping you alive. But here's where it gets really mind-bending. If we can solve these problems, and scientists think we can with current technology, what would life actually be like for Mars colonists? Imagine being born there. You'd grow up taller and thinner than Earth humans because Mars has only 38% of Earth's gravity. You could jump 3 times higher than on Earth. Carrying heavy objects would feel easy. But your bones would be less dense, your muscles weaker. And here's the heartbreaking part. You might never be able to visit Earth. Your body, adapted to Mars' gravity, probably couldn't handle Earth's pull. Your bones might break, your heart might struggle. Earth would be that beautiful blue dot in the Martian night sky where your ancestors came from. But you'd be trapped. You'd be 100% Martian, a new branch of humanity adapted to a different world. You'd think of red skies and rust-colored landscapes as normal. Blue skies would look weird to you. Martian sunsets are blue around the sun, with red-orange everywhere else, exactly opposite of Earth. That would be your normal. Rain would be something from history books. Wind on your face, breathing without equipment, oceans, birds, trees, all theoretical concepts. Your reality would be pressurized habitats, recycled everything, and the constant hum of life support systems that must never, ever fail. The psychological challenges might actually be harder than the physical ones. You're living in what amounts to a high-tech prison, with the same small group of people, eating the same limited foods, doing maintenance tasks constantly because equipment failures equal danger. Communication with Earth has a 13-minute one-way delay, 26 minutes for a conversation. You can't call someone for immediate help or advice. You can't evacuate if you hate it. The return window only opens every 2 years when planetary orbits align, and the journey takes 7 to 9 months. You're committed. But, and here's what makes this so compelling, you'd also be part of the most significant chapter in human history. Every Mars colonist would know they're pioneering humanity's future as a multi-planet species. They'd be doing something that matters on a cosmic scale. The first person born on Mars would be as historically significant as the first humans who walked upright or invented agriculture. They'd be living proof that life isn't confined to one fragile blue marble. More after our break.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
And here's something we don't talk about enough. Technology developed for Mars would revolutionize life on Earth. Closed-loop life support systems that recycle everything? That's essentially solving sustainability. Water purification tech that can reclaim every drop? Earth needs that desperately. Efficient food production in harsh conditions? We could green deserts. Radiation shielding? Helpful for long-term space travel anywhere. Mars colonization would force innovations that make Earth better. The big questions we can't answer yet are fascinating. Would babies develop normally in low gravity? We literally don't know. No human has ever been conceived or born off Earth. Would Mars colonists eventually become biologically distinct from Earth humans, a separate branch of our species? What would a Martian culture look like? Would they resent Earth for being the easy, beautiful homeworld? Would Earth and Mars eventually have political tensions, like colonial America and Britain? And here's the philosophical bomb. If we successfully colonize Mars, we prove that intelligence can overcome environmental limitations. Life isn't confined to the 1 in a billion perfect conditions where it evolved. We can adapt anywhere with enough knowledge and technology. That means the universe might be full of life doing exactly what we're doing, spreading beyond their birth worlds, becoming resilient, making themselves extinction-proof. Right now, at this moment, engineers are testing prototypes of Mars habitats. SpaceX is building Starship, designed to carry 100 people to Mars. NASA is measuring radiation and mapping water ice and figuring out where to land. The Chinese space program just landed their first Mars rover. This is happening. The countdown has started. Your kids might watch live streams from Mars colonies. Your grandkids might consider moving there. Someone alive today will likely be the first human to set foot on Martian soil. And that moment will be more significant than the moon landing. Because moon missions were visits. Mars is permanent. Mars is humanity's declaration that we refuse to stay confined to one world, that we're taking our first steps toward becoming a spacefaring civilization that might one day reach other stars. So yeah, Mars wants to harm us. It's a frozen, toxic, radiation-soaked nightmare of a planet. But it's our nightmare, our next home, our future. And that future is closer than you think. Every closed-loop life support test, every successful Starship flight, every discovery of accessible water ice brings it closer. We're not asking if anymore. We're figuring out how, and when, and who goes first. The age of Earth-only humanity is ending. What comes next is going to be absolutely wild. Thanks for listening to the Critter Podcast with me, Callie Cross. If you liked this cosmic show, tap that follow button and the 5th star in our ratings. And remember, the truth is out there.
Grep News. Thomas.